Up next, Dr. Gerald Brooks Leadership Podcast. In partnership with Raul Quaresma Ministries and Cool 97.5, we gladly present to you Dr. Gerald Brooks Leadership Podcast for pastors, leaders, and church workers who are involved in God's ministry every Wednesday from 12 to 12:30 high noon, only here on Cool 97.5.
Welcome to the Gerald Brooks Leadership Podcast, a deep dive into biblical leadership with pastor and author Dr. Gerald Brooks.
Hi, this is Gerald Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast. I want to talk to you today about questions, leaders. I believe that questions are powerful because they literally are the doorway to wisdom. If I can put it to you this way, when you ask questions, you create the opportunity to gain wisdom. When you ask questions, it creates moments of reflection, which are what keep you going where God wants you to go. But here's something you need to know. The most frequent and avid question asker is God. God was the ultimate person when it comes to asking questions. A dear friend of mine, Tony Cook, does an outstanding lessons that are in the Bible. He says that there are 3,294 questions in the Bible. Man, that is a lot of questions. 3,294 questions in the Bible. Why are there so many questions? Because questions are launching points. They have the opportunity to elevate you. They have the opportunity to change you. They have an opportunity to make you better. He goes on and he says that God asked Job, you know that book of Job? That God asked Job 77 questions in just 2 chapters. In just 2 chapters, 77 questions. 3,007 questions. So in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, 3,007 questions. And then the Apostle Paul apparently learned this question asking skill. In the book of Romans alone, he asked 47 questions. Now, why would there be 3,307 questions asked by Jesus and 47 questions asked by Paul? Because questions give us the opportunity to see what we haven't seen, to know what we haven't known, to learn what we haven't learned, and to position us to do. They cause you to pause. See, when you get asked a question, it slows you down. And slowing you down isn't a bad thing. Because of the pace of life and because just the speed of life, many times we can miss things that are important in life, but a question will cause you to just pause for a second. It will cause you to slow down just a little bit so that you don't miss something that's very, very important. I remember one day after church, Jenny and I are at home and we get a call from one of the staff pastors, and we're already at home and we're beginning to chill out because you know how Sunday is. The biggest dream of a pastor is to take a nap on. Sure, what's going on? And he said, "Did you forget anything?" I look around and I turn to Jenny, "Did we forget anything?" And literally both of us shake our heads. No, we didn't forget anything. And I thought Jenny had Wendy, and he asked us a question that made us stop and reflect that we had forgotten something very, very important. One of our 3 kids. Questions cause you to pause. Questions cause you to think. They cause you to have to go into something, to see something, to begin to ascertain something, to begin to meditate, to begin to, literally think through something. And questions cause you to be transparent. When you ask questions, it causes transparency. It just causes you to be transparent in life. But the most important thing is questions keep you on track. They keep you on track. And right now, we have too many illustrations of people who should be finishing that aren't finishing, people who should be running towards the finish line who have tripped themselves up and they're never going to make it to the finish line. And we have individuals that literally are not going to stay on track. Why? Because a few questions could have made the difference in their journey. A few questions could have changed the path that they're on, the direction. Well, today, what I want to do is I want to give you some questions I believe that leaders should always be asking. Questions that leaders should. Profound question. Why are you here? I spend a large degree of my ministry trying to convince people that they're not an accident, that they're not an extra in God's casting system, that God has designated them for a starring role. And is meaningful. And they don't think that their life is intentional. But I believe for a leader, you have to ask the question, why are you here? See, this is the purpose question. Why did God place me here? Why did God place me here for this time? What is me? Well done, my good and faithful servant. I think too many people get caught up in the activities of life and they never discover their purpose in life. Life happens at such speed and it happens with such a width of volume that it's rare. And I believe that you need to ask yourself that question. Why am I here? Why did God put me here? What is the reason I'm here? Why is God asking me to be here? Why are you here? What do you do well? See, the first one, why are you here? That's about your purpose. Why are you a dot on the map? You know, when you go to the mall and you're wanting to look for a location and it gives you all the possibilities of where you could go, but all those possibilities start with a dot that says you can go. But I believe there's a second question that you have to sort of double down on. And that is, what do you do well? What is it that you're good at? Now, when it comes to being good, you're good at something. What we know is that God gifts people. Now, your gift is going to look different than my gift, and my gift is going to look different than your gift. We're going to look at things different. We are going to measure things different. But what do you do well? What is your gift? What are you good at? Now, let me just be honest about this question. I didn't ask, what do you want to do? I didn't ask, what do you like to do? See, there are things that I like doing, but I'm not gifted at doing. I tell the story of when I was younger, I used to play two-man volleyball, and I love playing two-man volleyball. I enjoyed being out in the sun, even though that had a negative effect later on in life. I loved competing, and I just loved interacting. Now, the truth of the matter is that that's not my gift. As much as I love it, that's not my gift. People say, well, if it's something you do well, then you'll just love it. I do funerals well, but I've never loved doing a funeral. I do car crashes well, but I've never loved doing a car crash. I stand up before people in the middle of turmoil, and I do that well, but I don't like turmoil, and I don't love it. Your gift isn't about what you love. Your gift is about what you're good at. So if you have a crisis in your life, I'm good at that. If you have a problem in your life, I'm good at that. Now, none of that is on the love side. So I need you to understand that what you do well may be different than what you love to do. I love to play volleyball, but I was never going to be a pro beach volleyball player. There was no future in playing volleyball. See, one of the things you have to distinguish is never confuse your hobby from your gift. Never confuse them. You're gifted at one thing, your hobby's another thing. And a lot of people, because they love their hobby, they want to make that their gift. I love playing volleyball, but I'm 5'8". That's not going to work when you get around people that God made giants in the land. Now, I can compete with them because I'm smarter than most of them and I know how to move the ball around, but there's still no future in it. So I can't confuse my hobby for my gift. But what do you do well? There's something that people, and he made a statement to me because I asked him, I said, you're one of the most prolific leadership thinkers I know. Why aren't you? And I gave him a series of things to do. And he said, Gerald, I don't get asked to do those things. He said, what I get asked to do is to build the scaffolding in front of tens of thousands. Now, the interesting thing is that he writes lessons for the people who stand on stages in front of tens of thousands, and all the people think, well, look at what this person knows. None of that stuff is what they know. It's what he knows. He's not good at being the main speaker at a convention. So he said, eventually you figure out what you're asked to do is what people see that you're good at. Well, what are you asked to do? What is your gift? So 2 questions. Why are you here? What do you do well? Another question, who do you need to hang around with? This is the influence question. And this is the one that is gold. This is the one that is truly a force multiplier in your life. Who do you need to hang around with? In your life, there are going to be hundreds of people that you may enjoy. Influence motivates your life and makes your life into something different than it's ever been before. What I find is a lot of people just want to hang around in rooms that they're liked, and they want to hang around with people that they love. But they really don't understand that what changes you the most is hanging around people who influence you. They stretch you, they challenge you, they make you uncomfortable, but they make you grow. Who are those people? And what I can tell you, whoever those people are, you pay to be in the room with them. Whatever the cost is, you pay to be in the room with them. Because those are the people who make your life advance. So, who do you need to hang around with? Another question, how are you getting better? How are you getting better? I've become famous for asking this question. Is this the best you're ever going to be? Have we already seen your A game? Have we seen the best day of your life? Your best day as a husband, your best day as a wife, your best day as a mom, your best day as a dad, your best day as a boss, your best day as an employee, your best day as a leader, your best day as a Christian. Have we already seen your A game? How are you getting better? What I've learned about getting better is if you don't have a plan, you don't get better. So how are you getting better? What is your plan to get better? So ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question regularly. Because if you'll ask yourself that question regularly, you'll get better. Because you'll come up with a plan. That plan will be reading something you haven't read, doing something you haven't done, being somewhere you haven't been, and all of those things can make you better. So, how are you getting better? A series of questions. Why are you here? Your purpose question. What do you do well? Your gift question. Who do you need to hang around with? The influence question. And how are you getting better? The plan question. And is there anything you're holding on to you need to let go of? This is the hard question. We have a vivid image of this in the Bible. When Israel crossed into the promised land, God said, I'm going to give you Jericho. And God did it. All these people did was get steps every day. But eventually the walls came down. And when the walls came down, God said, when you go into the city, everything there, Hebrew word is karam. Don't touch anything in this city. All the other cities, you're going to get the spoil. You're going to get the result of. But this city, you're not going to touch. But there was one man named Achan who saw a couple of bars of gold, and he decided to take them home. Nobody's going to know, except God knows. What is it that nobody knows that only God knows in your life? What is it that you've taken that belongs to God? I tell people all the time that giving is not a principle to bind you. It's a principle to release you. And it releases you that when you honor God and you recognize what belongs to Him, God will give you things so that they will belong to you. But what God says is to Achan, you've taken something. And Israel's going to go through this tumultuous time after this event, and Joshua's going to be mad. But God's going to say, why are you mad at me? You're the guys who messed up. You're the guys who couldn't follow instructions. And do you know how Joshua's going to figure out that Achan took something that belonged to God? It was hidden in his house. So let me ask you another question. What is it that's hiding in your house that really belongs to God? What is it? See, when you disobey God and you hold on to things that belong to God and you keep things that are God, you don't just hurt you. You're going to hurt your family and you're going to hurt the people around. And that's going to be vividly illustrated in the book of Joshua. So is there anything you're holding on to that you need to let go of? Is there anything at all that you have in your hands that shouldn't be there? Are you holding on to the past? Are you holding on to a grudge? Are you holding on to an attitude? Are you holding on to an addiction? What are you holding on to? Is there anything you're holding on to that you need to let go of? Next question. What feeds your passion? What is it that makes your passion grow? What feeds your passion? For me, my passion is fed in prayer. I don't have to pray. I love to pray. And for some people, their passion is fed in worship. For other people, their passion is fed in study. For other people, their passion is fed by just pausing and reflecting. For others, it's seeing the beauty of creation. But whatever feeds your passion, feed it. Figure out what feeds your passion. See, this is the personal question. Is there anything you're holding on to you need to let go of? That's the hard question. But what feeds your passion is the personal question. So what feeds you? And then I guess there's sort of a sub-question. Are you doing what feeds you? We need you to be passionate. There's nothing worse than lethargic leaders. People that are going through the motions because they're no longer passionate about what they do. Let me give you another question. What are you learning which excites you? What are you learning that excites you? If there's nothing that excites you, then you're probably not on a learning path. I just read this book. It was a biography. And it's about somebody who changed our world. But it excited me because it was making my it's never understood before and see the magnitude of our God at depths I'd never seen it before. Now, it's a secular book. It's about a secular person. Yet all those things happened in me because I created an environment where I did something where I was learning. So let me just again say that questions are important. Just the sheer volume of them in the Bible tell us that questions are important. So these questions, why are you here? The purpose question. What do you do well? The gift question. What do you need or who do you need to hang around with? The influence question. How are you getting better?